Welcome back to Light Upon Light. We were talking about rules and regulations regarding divorce and the fact that it is not highly recommended that we go straight for divorce if we can avoid it. And the way women should be treated during their iddah, and the fact that they should remain in their houses, not to leave or to be asked to leave, because this might create an opportunity for both of them to reconcile or to have peace and then start their marriage again. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Talaq attracted our attention to His limits, to His boundaries, to His rules and regulations. And He said, if you fear Allah in the way you treat your wife while during the iddah time, the waiting time, or after, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will always find a way out for you from your problems. And He will always give you sustenance from sources you never expected, you never thought. And if you put your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is sufficient for you. In verse 4, He says, and whoever fears Allah, He will make all his affairs easy, and He will remove all his difficulties. And in verse 5, and whoever fears Allah, He will forgive his sins and give him a great reward. So why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala use all these instructions regarding وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهِ وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهِ وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهِ? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows very well that when there is a dispute, a disagreement between a husband and the wife, there will be a lot of injustice, especially from the man's side, unfortunately. Because the man thinks he is the supplier, he is the protector, he is the guardian, but unfortunately he betrays the contract of marriage, and he is no longer providing, he is no longer supporting, he is no longer looking after his wife. And he tries to put a lot of pressure on her and torture her during the waiting time, or even before that, or even for the woman to obtain her absolute divorce. He tries to be so nasty and unkind to her. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is warning us men to be aware that He is watching over us, and His punishment is so severe, and He knows and hears everything. So please make sure that you comply with the rules and regulations which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala states in His book. Now let's move to Surah Al-Hashr, chapter 59, and I'm going to read from verse 18. Al-Hashr means the gathering, when people will all come back to the day of judgment, crowds. O you who believe, fear Allah, and let every soul look to what provision it has sent forth for the morrow. Fear Allah, because Allah is well acquainted with all that you do. And do not be like those who forgot Allah, so He made them forget about themselves. They are the rebellious transgressors. And this reminds us that if we transgress the boundaries of Allah, then we are in great trouble. Why? Because the companions of the fire are not equal to the companions of the paradise. The companions of paradise are the real winners. In verse 21, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us an example regarding the importance of the Quran. He says, if we send down this Quran on a mountain, what will happen? The mountain will crumble from the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Had we sent down this Quran on a mountain, verily, you have seen it humble itself and cleave asunder for fear of Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving us this example to remind us of the importance of the Quran. A mountain would respond to the message, whilst we, the human beings, are not listening and are not making an effort to study the Quran or to understand it or to apply it or to abide by the rules and regulations in the Quran. So the Quran is not just a book to be read in the prayers or in funerals or in weddings. There are rules and regulations which we have to apply all the time, whether it is family rules and regulations or trade and business or relationship with other communities or with other creatures in the world we live in. In Surah Al-Jumu'ah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala informs the believing men that it is an obligation on all believing men to go to perform the Friday prayer. O you who believe, when the call is proclaimed to prayer on Friday, you must go to attend the remembrance of Allah and leave off business that is best for you if you but knew. O you who believe, respond to the call of the Friday prayer. O you who believe, know that it is an obligation on you as men to go, to leave your business, to close your shops, to ask your employer to give you the time off and go to the nearest mosque to where you work and perform the Friday prayer. The moment it finishes, you must rush back to your work. فَإِذَا قُضِيَتِ الصَّلَاةِ, and when the prayer is finished, then فانتشروا في الأرض وابتغوا من فضل الله واذكروا الله كثيرا لعلكم تفلحون. Then dispense through the land. Do not stand in front of the mosque outside talking and discussing things with all your friends and colleagues. It disturbs the peace of the neighborhood. The moment the prayer is over, please disperse, disappear, vanish, go back to your work or home and seek of the bounty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and celebrate the praises of Allah. It is very highly recommended on a Friday that we say as-salatu ala nabi, Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barik ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa alihi wa sahbihi during Friday. And also it is very highly recommended that you read Surah Al-Kahf, the cave, on Friday. It provides you with light from beneath your feet to heaven for the whole week. So make a habit to go to pray Friday every week, to immediately after the prayer is over, go back to your work. Do not stand out in the street, and remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as much as you can on the day, and Salatul Nabi alayhi salatu wassalam, and to read Surah Al-Kahf. Thank you for being with me. I hope to see you inshallah in the next episode of Light Upon Light. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.